My knees killing me, my back's killing me.
This is my last hope here, and I don't want to die.
You know, Larry, I can tell that you're pretty smart, okay? But being a smart and being a self-destructive is a bad combination.
Honestly, I feel lost. I had no idea doing this was going to have this kind of effect on me.
It's not enough to save your life.
I don't understand what I did wrong, because I really did.
Imagine a life that feels like it's set on hard mode from the very beginning with no easy way out. This was the reality for James L.B. Bonner, a name that resonates with fans of My 600-Pound Life for all the right and wrong reasons. James grew up in South Carolina, a place known for its charm but also for its deep-seated traditions, including a love for hearty, comforting food. Being adopted as a newborn into a family that had longed for a son seemed like a blessing, but as the only boy among 3 sisters, James's life was a little too blessed, if you know what I mean. Hello everyone. Before diving into the moments that left people gobsmacked on My 600-Pound Life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. From impossible odds to inspiring victories, these stories are sure to captivate you. So, let's get started.
So I spent a lot of time with my Uncle Sam and my Aunt Dora. I called them Ma too and Dad too. I was always excited to go stay with my aunt and uncle, because every time I'd get down there, the first thing she'd do was go open up the cabinets and say, "What you want?" It was always beef sticks or pig in a blankets or snack cakes. I guess that's when I started associating that comforted feeling with food.
Imagine being the center of everyone else's world. It sounds great, right? Until you realize that the endless supply of love comes with an equally endless supply of food. James quickly became the golden child, adored and pampered. But this adoration came with a side dish of calorie-laden treats that turned into his Achilles heel. It's like having a genie who grants every wish, but with each wish, the genie sneaks in a curse. James's love for food became a runaway train, and by the time he was 12 years old, that train had derailed in the worst way possible. 200 pounds at 12, let that sink in.
But when I was almost 9, Aunt Dora got diagnosed with cancer, and she ended up passing away.
I'm telling you, when his ma too died, it's like this little boy was just crushed. It's just like his whole world fell apart.
I'm 29 now, and it's still the hardest loss I've ever went through. And after my mom too died, I'd probably eat a pack of hot dogs every 2 days.
By the time James was 17, he had reached a staggering 400 pounds. That's not just a heavy load, that's a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. And when it did, it took away one of the few things that made him feel alive: football. Imagine losing the one thing that gives your life meaning, the one thing that makes you feel like you belong. That's what happened to James when his health forced him to give up football. It was like someone yanked away his lifeline, leaving him adrift in a sea of despair. But hey, the universe wasn't done with him yet. Life has a funny way of kicking you when you're down.
LB was a good player. And when he was a sophomore in high school, he won Offensive Player of the Year. So that's a big achievement for somebody being a sophomore. And I was proud of him.
But that couldn't last because I started to get so big it affected my health. I was 17 and over 400 pounds at that point. So I quit football. And I felt like I was letting everybody down, especially my dad.
Just when you thought things couldn't get worse, fate decided to throw James another curveball on Mother S Day, no less. While out riding four-wheelers with friends, just trying to grab a slice of normal life, James was involved in a horrific accident that left him with a foot injury so severe that amputation became the only option. Let's pause here for a moment. Can you imagine the emotional whiplash? One minute you're out enjoying the day, and the next you're being told you might lose a leg. And as if battling a body that's already betraying you isn't enough, now you've got to deal with a prosthetic leg. The odds were stacked against him, yet James wasn't ready to give up. Not yet.
The last trail we were on is where I ended up getting into my accident, shattering a bunch of stuff in my foot. And after a failed surgery attempt, I ended up with a bone infection. The option we went with was amputation.
When LB hurt his leg and the surgery failed, it was just too painful. And he said, Mommy's, I'm going to be better off without the leg. When he got it amputated, that it was going to be better. But it was hard for him to get around, and it wasn't what he thought it was going to be.
Enter Dr. Now, the man with a mission, the surgeon with a plan for people who've hit rock bottom and need a way back up. Through sheer willpower and a little help from Dr. Now, James managed to lose an incredible 316 pounds. Post-surgery, he slimmed down to 326 pounds. It was a transformation that had everyone cheering for him, a moment of hope in a life full of despair. James took to social media, sharing his journey like it was a beacon of light in the darkness.
So how did you end up at this point?
I got a bad habit of binge eating, binge drinking, eating real late at night.
So what do you eat when you do that?
I eat a lot of fried food, a burger, or wings.
Okay. Do you get one?
No, sir.
Okay, so you're just getting bigger and bigger. And it must be difficult for you to get around because there's going to be a lot of strain in that prosthetic with your weight.
Yeah, there's only one company in the country that was willing to build me a foot.
Brittani's journey is raw, it's messy, and honestly, it's a bit of a roller coaster that had us all watching through our fingers, half wondering if she was going to crash and burn. As a child, she found herself in a hell most people can't even imagine. A family member turned into the worst kind of monster, leaving her with emotional scars that would make even the toughest among us flinch. And what did she do? She turned to food. Because let's be real, food doesn't judge you, doesn't hurt you until it does.
Most of the time, I'm like, maybe it'd be better if I just don't wake up, because every single day I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what did you do to yourself? A human body should not look the way my body looks. It is the most disgusting thing in the world. I'm so big, I'm almost to the point where I can't even take care of myself.
By the time Brittani made her debut on the show, she was tipping the scales at over 600 pounds. It's easy to sit back and judge to say, why didn't she just stop eating? But that's the thing, when food is your only escape, it's not that simple. And Brittani was trapped in a vicious cycle, one that her husband Bill might have unintentionally made worse. It's tough being in Bill's shoes too. He wanted to be there for her to make her feel better, but sometimes that meant handing her the very thing that was dragging her down. It's a messed up kind of love, where every act of kindness might just be another nail in the coffin.
To me, Brittani seemed just happy. Her personality was bubbly, and I wanted to join the bubble, I guess.
So we got married, and it's been me and Bill against everything since then. I needed someone to tell me that I'm okay, and that never happened before in my life. I've wondered if I've been a disappointment to him.
Brittani hit a point where life was no longer bearable. The physical pain was overwhelming, but it was the emotional pain that was truly suffocating her. So she reached out to Dr. Now in Houston. He laid it out for Brittani with all the tenderness of a brick through a window. You need to lose weight, he said, and he didn't sugarcoat it. No surgery until she proved she could stick to a strict 1,200-calorie diet, and heaven forbid, get off the couch and exercise.
I've never been on a road trip like this, and I'm scared I might not make the journey. From Tualatin to Houston will take 6 days, and I've never driven more than 3 hours in a car at this weight. So this is pretty terrifying.
The thing is, changing habits isn't as easy as flipping a switch. Sure, Brittani started off strong, full of that new year, new main energy. But old habits, they have a way of sneaking back in when you least expect it. She missed appointments with Dr. Now, armed with a fresh excuse each time. Honestly, it was almost comical, except for the fact that her life was on the line. Dr. Now, probably more patient than any of us would be, kept giving her chances, tossing her lifelines she seemed determined to ignore. You can almost picture him shaking his head, thinking, is she ever going to get it together?
I feel like this is a fresh start for Bill and me. We've never had a normal husband and wife relationship, and I feel like I can start being a wife to him. And for the first time in our marriage, we can start to get closer. Like that grilled chicken breast looks really good. That's what I'm getting.
It's been a while since we've been out to dinner. It's nice to go out and do what we want.
And then, just when it seemed like Brittani might be content to coast along in the cycle of half-hearted attempts, something clicked. She got back on track, finally dropping enough weight to qualify for bariatric surgery. After the surgery, the weight didn't just come off, it practically evaporated. 230 pounds gone, like a ghost in the night.
The past few months have been amazing. I have made so much progress. I am doing so much more, and I have so much more energy. I'm able to help Bill in the mornings, make him breakfast. I do the laundry and I clean, and it may sound really boring to someone, but it's what I've always wanted.
As Brittany's losing the weight, she's definitely back to the Brittany I knew when I first met her. We're able to do more and more together, and the more and more she does, the happier she gets.
If these stories are hitting you hard, imagine living through them. Drop a comment below on which moment struck you the most, and let's keep the conversation going on how strength can emerge from the most unexpected places. Let's talk about Coliesa McMillian, a woman whose life was one never-ending test of endurance. Seriously, how much can one person handle before the universe just decides, yeah, that's enough? Coliesa's life was a mix of physical pain, emotional baggage, and let's be real, a heart that seemed more like a ticking time bomb than an organ designed to keep you alive. Imagine waking up every day knowing your heart could give out on you at any second. Not exactly the stuff motivational posters are made of, right?
It's just humiliating, and I hate that I've done this to myself and let things get this bad. But I have no choice. I have to have help to even clean myself. And so me and 2 of my daughters live with my sister Mindy and her daughter Lily, so my sister can take care of me, because I just can't do it anymore with all of the weight that's on my body now.
By the time she hit 39, Coliesa had been through the ringer more times than anyone should. We're talking about someone who carried not just her body weight 643 pounds, if you can believe it, but also the weight of years of emotional trauma. The kind of trauma that no amount of comfort food can really soothe, though it certainly tries. And the cherry on top, a heart attack that was less of a surprise and more of an inevitable punchline to a really bad joke. The only thing worse than your heart being a literal ticking time bomb is knowing that the bomb squad, aka the doctors, doesn't have a clue how to defuse it.
You know, with your heart history, having a heart attack, you're not going to be a good candidate for weight loss surgery unless you lose a lot of weight, and make sure the surgery is going to be safe. So between this point and the point that you're going to be safe to have surgery, I want you to lose 100 pounds. And I want you to do that over the next 2 months.
Enter Dr. Nowzaradan, a man with the patience of a saint and the bedside manner of a drill sergeant. When he met Coliesa, he saw the mess that was her health and decided it was time to play the most dangerous game of operation ever. Immediate surgery was the call, but her heart was in such terrible shape that just getting through the operation without flatlining was a miracle in itself. Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can almost hear the doctors saying, well, we could try this, but don't hold your breath unless that helps.
Health is about to start deteriorating rapidly and get to a point here soon that we won't be able to bring her back from, especially with the poor condition of her heart. But my biggest concern right now is the possibility that she may have some sort of intestinal blockage that may require surgery to address to prevent it from becoming life-threatening for her.
But here's the thing about Coliesa, she wasn't one to just lie down and take it, even if that's exactly what life was pushing her to do. She started making progress, albeit slowly, under Dr. Now's relentless watch. She lost 150 pounds, which is like losing an entire human being. And just when you think things might be looking up, life swoops in with yet another cruel twist. Sure, she lost the weight, but it still wasn't enough for the life-saving surgery she needed. But Dr. Now, bless his heart, decided to go for it anyway. Maybe it was out of sheer desperation, or maybe he just didn't like losing. Either way, he decided to roll the dice.
Long enough to get her to start taking more responsibility for her situation to do what she needs. Because what this operation does is that it removes 80 to 90% of the stomach, leaving a small narrow tube that looks similar to a sleeve. This limits the amount of food that the patient can eat at one time, and also changes the patient's metabolism so they feel less hungry.
At 45, Larry Myers wasn't just battling his scale, he was locked in an all-out war with his body. Picture this: asthma, sleep apnea, thyroid disease, and depression all lined up like the 4 horsemen of his personal apocalypse. But wait, it gets worse. Severe lymphedema in his right leg pretty much turned him into a human statue. Moving around? Forget it. His story could fill a tear-jerking drama, the kind that leaves you clutching your chest like you've just lost your last dollar at the slot machine. But let's dive a little deeper into the messy reality of Larry's life.
My right leg is a mass of hardened lymphedema tissue, which makes it significantly larger than my left. And it's very painful. The most difficult part of my day is getting up off the floor. It takes all my strength and it pains me a lot. Then once I'm up, my lymphedema pulls me down. And walking is very, very difficult, and it hurts bad.
Imagine being so big that even the simple act of cleaning yourself feels like trying to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops. For Larry, cleanliness wasn't just a preference, it was an obsession. The guy had a germ phobia so intense that even Howard Hughes would have told him to take it down a notch. But the kicker? He didn't just take showers, he basically marinated himself in bleach. Yeah, you heard me right, bleach. I bet his skin was practically crying out for mercy. But in Larry's world, nothing was too extreme when it came to fighting off imaginary germs.
Even though I'm in constant pain, the best, kindest, politest way that I can say it, I'm very flexible, and I do what I have to do to get all the way into the tub and clean myself, because I'm a germaphobe. I make sure that I'm thoroughly clean. I have to use bleach on my body because it's the only way I can feel truly clean. I don't overdo it where I put burn marks on myself, but I do use bleach.
Back in the day, when Larry wasn't busy turning every meal into an Olympic event, he was a hell of a singer. And I don't mean just any singer. This guy had a voice that could make angels weep. His passion for gospel music was the real deal, and he wasn't just confined to the church choir. He was out there, strutting his stuff at events like the Black Expo, making audiences lose their minds. And then came the Cotton Club in Harlem. Oh yeah, that Cotton Club where his performance was so off the charts that a big-time producer took notice. Next thing you know, Larry was staring down the barrel of a record deal, ready to live out the dream that so many aspiring musicians never quite reach. It was the kind of offer that'd make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, all the heartache was worth it.
I think they just looked at how he sung, because his voice was like something I never heard before. It'd make you want to stand up if you couldn't stand, clap your hands if you couldn't clap, because there was something about him and how he praised God.
I felt relieved to finally experience acceptance of my peers at school, and my life outside of home finally started to improve.
But life wasn't done kicking Larry in the teeth. The emotional roller coaster took another nosedive when he lost both his mom and one of his sisters within just 8 months. If that's not enough to make someone spiral, I don't know what is. And spiral he did straight into a 12-day coma during his mom's funeral. That's right, a coma. But here's the thing about Larry: no matter how many times life knocked him down, he just wouldn't stay down. He spent over 2 years in a nursing home, fighting his way back from the brink. And he didn't stop there. With the help of gastric sleeve surgery, Larry shed over 500 pounds, finally glimpsing the light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't even walk from here to there. And before I knew it, I was 940 pounds. I was too big to take care of myself, and I had to hire a home attendant to help me with the most basic things. I was barely hanging on. And then one day, my attendant came and found me in a coma. He called the ER and they admitted me to the hospital.
But of course, life had to throw one more curveball his way. Another sister passed away, and just like that, Larry's old habits came knocking. He started piling on the pounds again, slipping back into the same destructive patterns. But this time, something was different. Larry wasn't ready to just roll over and let his demons win. This setback turned into a wake-up call, the kind that shakes you to your core. Realizing he wasn't done fighting, he reached out to Dr. Now, the only person who might just be crazy enough to take him on.
That's really upsetting to see. Very upsetting. I was expecting a lot better than that. So I guess I can forget about any type of surgery approval today. Come in.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Hi, how are you?
By the end of that year, Larry made a bold move to Houston, Texas, determined to start fresh. And guess what? He dropped another 119 pounds. His journey is like a Shakespearean tragedy with a dash of hope, a story of heartache, struggle, and a relentless pursuit of something better. Larry Myers may not have a happy ending just yet, but one thing's for sure, he's not giving up without a fight. Thanks for joining, folks. If you were inspired by these stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content. Do not forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay motivated and stay strong.
So far, you have lost 119 pounds in 1 year, which is what you should have lost in the first 3 months. And still after 1 year, you're still using the walker.
Right.
So you shouldn't be right now at this point using the walker. You should have improved that you could walk independently.
When I don't use the walker, it makes me feel a little wobbly, but I'll do better.
That's good. But Larry, I see your hard work recently, and I'm proud of you for losing weight consistently in last year.